Kama is the name. You know? नाम तो सुना ही होगा. He says, I'm famous. Who doesn't know me? Yeah. So, who doesn't know me? Kama says. I'm famous. Everyone knows. In fact, I drive the world around. I'm the fuel that makes the world go. What is Kama? Abba. Okay. So, Kama means all kinds of desires. Starting from the desire of a pipilika. What is pipilika? This should give you a hint.
Ant.
Yeah. Chinti, small ant. To a woolly mammoth. I am everywhere. And Kama says, I am Sarvagnaha, I am Sarvavyapin, I am all pervasive, I am everywhere. Even the little ant says, I think I'm going to go in line, and it goes. Some small desire it must have. To the woolly mammoth desire. May I keep the people guessing. Am I elephant? Am I not? You know, this all jivas, everyone has Kama, and this is the firstborn of the matriarch. She never goes anywhere without him. Yeah. And then what? Kama doesn't sit quietly. Yeah. Kama has another son, grandson of Avidya. And he is so cute. Grandma says, let's take him along. Who is he? Huh? Karma. Karma. Because without Kama there is no karma. Think about it. You don't desire anything, as in sleep. What are you doing to nothing you are doing? Oh, in sleep there is no desire? Yes. That's why it's called sound sleep. Where the desires do not make a sound. That's what it is. Sound sleep. If there is a desire, it is to continue sleeping. That's some latent desire. But really speaking, there is no desire to go here, go there. We are not talking of dream. That is Ardha Vikasa. We are talking of sleep per se. In sleep, there is no duality. There is no desire. There is no action. There is no Kama. Therefore, there is no karma. Kama and karma. Karma is the petrol that fuels karma. Karma pravartakaha kamasyat. Adi Shankara. These are all words of Adi Shankara. In the opening bhashya of the Taittiriya Upanishad, this is what he says. Karma is powered by Kama. Only when I want something, I move the hands and legs. I make a decision. Some changes take place at the level of the vritti. Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. Then I have to go here, I have to go there. If I have to go here, I have to go there, I have to book a ticket. And if I have to book a ticket, then I have to do that. And then if I have to do that, then I have to do this. And all this is based on one desire, beach. Yeah. Yeah. See, one beach. Beach mein aa gaya. That's what, it came in the middle. So, this one beach, one desire. You thought it's a small desire. Oh, I want to go to beach. Look at all the intervening factors there. All of them, the karma doesn't sit quietly. It's got an extremely rajasic son called karma that forces one to be active relentlessly, mindlessly, constantly. And then this rajasic, young and restless fellow, who, karma, has twins. What are they? Papa and Kama is Ragadvesha. Yeah. Kama is Ragadvesha. He has two wives, you can say. Yeah, Ragadvesha. Kama is in the form of Ragadvesha. Papa and Punya. They are the result of all action, correct? Papa and Punya, twins. One good twin, one not so good twin. In other words, good karma leads to what? Nice, nice comfortable situations here and hereafter. The bad karma leads to papa, which is uncomfortable situations here and the hereafter. And this is the whole brood. Oh, they both, papa punya, they have the identical offspring since they are also twins. What is it? Rebirth. A birth that re for relentless, reap for repetitive, re for reaping what you have sown. Re also regarding Papa Punya, this is what it is. Rehash of all the doings. So, the whole brood comes along with avidya. And Kama is a greedy fellow. Kama says, Mom, can I run this show? And Mom says, yes, honey, go ahead. I'm old and tired. You go. You're young blood. You should do all these things. Kama says, occupy antahkarana, movement. Occupies the whole blessed mind, all the levels of it. And then what? Project, operation, capture buddhi. Tie it up, Kama says. And karma happily goes along and says, here father is the rope, here daddy is the chain. Tie up this buddhi, lock it up, throw it back into the ocean of avidya. Coat it, dip it in avidya coating. And let it not come in the way. Anything that comes in the way, Kama is a dictator. Like Kamsa, you see? No, he was also a dictator. Kama is a dictator. And what happens as a result? Kama colonizes the mind, the heart, and then puts knot in it. Yeah. And then what? Karma, restless fellow, this first thing ties up the buddhi and causes chaos inside, because one feels isolated, abandoned, alone by one's own inner guru, which is the buddhi. Now, how will you go to outer guru if the inner guru itself is compromised? And then what happens? Then, this karma does things, and karma messes up everything. One has to redo everything. Keeps doing. Having colonized the inner psyche, karma proceeds to, directed by Kama, proceeds to colonize what is around. So the world is divided into me and not me, mine, not yet mine. This is the whole division of the world. And the more karma does, the more karma makes karma do, the more karma does, what happens? Papa, punya, pile up, they get nourished by this, they get bigger, mostly papa. Because karma, the dictator, exerts pressure to go against dharma. Yeah. Dharma is the buddhi in the heart, who is, remember what happened to him? Tied up. Dharma has been tied up along with a buddhi. Twin shackles. Yeah. And then Papa reigns and causes acid rain. Yeah. And causes the jiva to writhe and wriggle and in pain because of this rain. Then what happens? I don't like this rain. I want it to go away. So I start building some acid resistant roof. Yeah. asbestos, and I make something which I want to secure my position and make it free of this horrible rain. So in fact, karma comes into the picture again, kama comes into the picture again, and avidya, mata, the grand matriarch, is watching this reality show, eating popcorn. That's all. Popcorn is just brain. Yeah, your own brain is popcorn because it's been lightened. You just feel lightheaded and giddy by this whole drama. This is what it is. But what do we need here? To come out of this situation is drama without the D. We need Rama. That's why we need the Lord. Because that Lord is the one who is the magician. Jiva is Rama with a D. That's all it is. That's the only difference. Yeah. Jiva is Rama plus D. That's all it is. The D has to be removed. And the D is avidya. The D in avidya. That's what it is. So this avidya is as though. And if avidya is as though, does kama have a reality? If the mother is as though, the son is real? No. Son is also as though. Like Bandhya Putra. As though. Son is as though. Grandson, of course, as though. The grand twins, as though. And then the Punarjanma, as though. Re, as though, re. So what is real in all this? Don't say nothing. I, the one who is owning up this avidya, inviting them, aiye, aa jao, kha jao. This is the problem. Come. One, that I notion cannot befriend avidya. Cannot sit and watch the show and eat popcorn along with avidya. When kama karma wreak havoc inside the antahkarana. So therefore, this is an epidemic. Like I said, this is avidya upahita chaitanya. In fact, it is not an epidemic, it's a pandemic. It is everywhere. Jiva-demic. Yes, everyone who is a jiva, who is born, has avidya. Oh my God. This is a virulent attack of a pandemic. What do you have to do? Therefore, it's a two-pronged approach. Internal and external. Yeah. You need ultraviolet light of knowledge. to kill off this avidya. Mahavakya, weed killer, is enough. It kills off all these weeds of avidya. This is the Mahavakya, is a Mahastra, a big weapon. And then, so you need these ultraviolet light in which all these weeds are gone. In fact, not just weeds, we attack the seed which gives rise to the weeds. Seed is the problem. Avidya, bija. So you fry this seed in the light of knowledge. That is the external approach. You exterminate this seed. By taking the one who is carrying the seed into a classroom of knowledge. Repeatedly, as much as needed, as many applications of this light of knowledge is needed, you administer this. Ultraviolet rays of knowledge kill the seed of avidya, it gets roasted. And slightly crunchy, but will not reproduce. Then what? Then the sadhana. This is the primary sadhana. Primary means of eradicating. You don't worry about cutting each weed because it will come back. Boing, here I am. Kama weed. Cut. Oh no, I have morphed. Karma weed, cut. Oh no, I'm going to do one more thing. Then one will be an exhausted jiva. You go straight to the seed, that is the primary means of eradicating the whole brood. Is you go for the matriarch. The as though almost non-existent matriarch is targeted and evaporated, exterminated, roasted, and then all the broods, the uninvited guests are all gone. That's the primary means. But the uninvited guests have stayed for so long that they have been converted from guest to pest. They have stayed that long, and it doesn't take long for a guest to become a pest. In other words, they have occupied the internal antakarana, the internal infrastructure, the mind, senses, etc., so much so that they continue to, as it were, live there long after it seems, even after the matriarch has been roasted, they seem to have a little place. They are not going. How? Why? In fact, they are gone. But one is scared of the shadow of karma. One is scared of the shadow of karma. So then that's why we have the auxiliary methods. The primary method is Shravanam, and that should be enough to take care of it. In fact, that is frequently enough. Along with Shravanam, listening or the exposure to the ultralight of knowledge, I help myself with some auxiliary means to qualify for this light. Yeah. Because the light works only when there are no shady spots hiding and shady things hiding. But karma, what he does is very clever. When the mother is being attacked, he drags her into a corner, or he himself goes and hides in a corner. So therefore, and karma puts a big block and says, I have no time for class, I have something important to do. And Papa Punya, and Punya even puts a spoof and says, you need more Punya. Go and serve somewhere and get more Punya. Punya doesn't know attending Vedanta class is great Punya. Oh my God, how much Punya one is getting? Even online? Yes, even online. So you see, it's in order to qualify for this light of knowledge, to be able to sit there and bask in the light without needing shades and without feeling afraid of this light, certain auxiliary help one can take. It's not necessary, but if it is necessary, whatever it takes to get to the place of exposing oneself to the light, this is what is called the auxiliary means. And the auxiliary means include the not just the extermination but the intermination, the termination within, by letting the residues of karma and karma dry out their current life. You don't nurture them. Karma says, oh, I'm dying, I need attention, resuscitation, code blue. I'm suffocating, you're not giving me the time of day. I want this badly. Just say Namaha. Just at least give it deferment, defer it. Not now, not now, not now, not now. And when you say not now, you are in the now. You occupy the now, karma goes away. Karma hates now. Karma is all about then. If you do this, then you know what it will be the future. Or remember what it was like then. In either case, it's all about then. It's not about now or about Zen. It's only about then. So this is the trick: is to let the damp karma dry out. Yeah, sometimes he vehemently agrees. So let the damp karma dry out. Let it dry out by not attending to it. Defer it, suspend it, and then it will go away. Rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. When you withdraw your attention from kama, kama is an attention hog. When you withdraw your attention from kama, first he creates a tantrum, and then what does he do? Kama means raga dvesha together, okay? Yeah. Don't think I've started a new topic. No. First he has a tantrum, a very nice, fine one, and then after that, what does he do? He just like a crying baby goes to sleep. Yeah. Next time when he comes, he's not so strong. Voice is weaker. But how to ignore this karma? Just how you have ignored, how you have grown out of each karma. How has the jiva grown out of each karma? You know, in the Shiva Aparadha Kshamaapana Stotram, Adi Shankara says, when I was a small baby, all this karma started. I got extremely attached to the mother's breast. Could not leave the mother's breast. Stanyapane pipasa. The desire to drink the milk was so much that I was latched on to the breast of the mother. And then what? I got latched on to a toy when I was a boy. And then a bigger toy. And then a video game. Then the other one is gone. Little truck or train is gone because now there is video game. Video game is after growing up bigger game. Then iPod, iPad, iPhone, iMad. All these various things keep replacing. So the karma only releases when you latch on to something else. Then only the other one will release. So you have to trick the karma by latching on to the light of knowledge, by latching on to the classes, and you make that the new karma. This is the trick. Make this the only karma, and then karma feels happy. Okay, you are attending to me, and then it won't bother you. And then this is the knowledge that really makes the karma disengage completely. Karma becomes, becomes a vibhuti, like the flute of Lord Krishna. It becomes a glory. You elevate karma to the level of glory when it is okay to not satisfy it, when it no longer binds, when it no longer retaliates with a sense of urgency. And how do you do that? By fixing the mind on param drishtva. Even though it has some tattva, even though the everyday wants, they have some reality. Not even the, not so much needs, but all the wants. They have some basis, but they let go as soon as you catch hold of the ultimate. Because really that's what you want. One wants the ultimate ultimately. So why wait ultimately and absolutely? Why not right now? This is the way to see through the Indrajala. What is Indrajala? The magic show of Ishvara. That is how to be Ishvara. That is how Ishvara is Ishvara. Because the karmas are all sublated. There is no avidya. So at the level of avarna, you and Ishvara are the same. Ishvara has no avarna, no covering force of Maya. You also have no covering force. But what about Vikshepa, the other force of Maya? Vikshepa is just Srishti. Where is the Srishti? In your Drishti. That's all. No Srishti. It cannot, it's a benign projection. It cannot hurt. It cannot cast a pall on you. So this is what is talked about here. Two reasons are given. Let us see. Nama Rupatmakam means it's just Nama Rupa. We have seen that. Vishwam, this Jagat, which is Indrajalam, which is a unending magic show from yuga to yuga, with 4 acts. Unending magic show in 4 acts. Sat act, Treta act, Dwapara act, Treta act, Kali act. Right now the act 4 is going on. This is a play in 4 acts, Indrajala. And this, the Buddhas, the ones who know already know this. They know this. And why do they know this and why do they say this? They say this because Anamatvat. Anamatvat means because the nama and the rupa are not fixed. Yeah. They're not fixed. They keep changing, they keep disappearing, and so I cannot say that this is real. It's just a magic show. Things appear, things disappear. It's like Grand Central Station of life. So many things happen. Suddenly there is a flash mob doing a dance. Suddenly there is somebody doing something or the other. Yeah, all kinds of things they do. You know, suddenly somebody is on the knees proposing to the girlfriend in front of 500 strangers, and she says no also. Bad timing, or guru not in the correct place, which is the same thing. And unflinchingly she says no. Yeah. And he has to now face all these strangers that he invited to dance, and so that he could propose. And so, of course, somebody is taking a video of all this. Somebody who has a lot of time, and somebody else who also has a lot of time is sending it to me. So this is this is how I come to know of these things. So somebody is sending me this link. Do you think I should do this? So I watched it. I said no. You must not do this, I said. So some proposal which went wrong. Yeah. So anyway, so this is what it is. So Indrajala, all this is Indrajala. It's a Grand Central Station. Somebody is beating someone up, and then somebody else is slipping their hand into some other pocket. Bugger to pick. Yeah. Somebody else is catching hold of that fellow and saying, I'll take you to the police. And the police says, we don't have time for this, we are not paid enough. And then what else? And then there is this dance and proposal, a big song and dance. Trains are coming, trains are going, people are filling in the trains, people are filling out of the trains. And then in the trains, people are doing all kinds of things. If you look into New York subway, everything happens in the train. Yeah, people are exchanging numbers, people are doing all kinds of things. People are getting divorced, people are getting married, people are doing all kinds of things in the train. Chopping vegetables, everything, Yeah, because they are busy, knitting and chopping and all kinds of things. This chopping vegetables I saw. Yeah, that I have seen myself. Yeah. That was not in New York, in some other place in the train. This, New York only, yeah. That train stopped for a long time, because it was some electrical failure in the winter. Very memorable trip. And so then this husband and wife are there, sitting diagonally from me, and he's giving the flashlight, and she calmly takes out one cutting board. Because they'll be home late. Next day they have to go to work. They need some chopped vegetables. So she's happily chopping something. I didn't see what, but it was something. And then, there is a bag and everything is going, because the board is tiny, small. On the lap she's holding and cutting. So like this, all kinds of things happen in the train. And so this is like the Grand Central Station. This is what it is. Highly entertaining, ultimately meaningless. Yeah. Nothing matters. Everybody running around. When you see, you feel like, oh my God, the head is in a spin. And you wonder why, where is everyone running? And other people are wondering, why is this woman crazily running? Why is this man crazily running? They are wondering the same about you. Just like when one is driving on holiday weekend, one says, where are all these people going? You are also going. That we forgot. And same thing, we catch a plane also. Oh, whole of Eugene is going. Yeah, but you are also going. So this is what it is. Join the mob. This is a big mob. This is just, and then if you don't know this, one is mobbed. This is the whole kind of a thing. Anamatvat. Anamatvat means it is completely devoid of reality. It's just a lot of, pistons and screws and everything engaging, like the machinery is engaging without really producing any results at all. Anamatvat and ayuktatvat. Ayuktatvat means it is not fit. This Jagat is not fit to be called a reality. It is not the reality. Therefore, it is only fit to be called a magic show. It doesn't deserve to be categorized as real. Of course, it is not unreal because it causes pain and sorrow and doubt and fear. So, therefore, it is ayukta. It is not fit to be categorized at all. And so, this is what is the declaration of Vedanta. अभेददर्शनं मोक्षः
अभेददर्शनं मोक्षः
संसारो भेददर्शनः
संसारो भेददर्शनः
सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त
सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त
इति
वेदान्तदिन्दिमः
अभेददर्शनं मोक्षः
अभेददर्शनं मोक्षः
संसारो भेददर्शनः
संसारो वेददर्शनः
सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्तः
सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्तः इति वेदान्तदिन्दिमः
Abheda darshanam. So, what is moksha? If all this is non-real, unreal, this real, that real, magic show, then what is real? What is this thing called freedom? How to be free of this kama, karma, avidya, papa, punya, etc. And the definition of moksha is given as abheda darshanam, the vision of non-separation from everything and anything at all. Because if you're not giving the Jagat the time of day, it shines as you. It's not separate from you. Abheda darshanam moksha. Where there is no separation sees even a whiff of separation. Seen. That is called, in that heart resides moksha. That is called moksha. That being, that abiding in that, the abidance in the knowledge of everything as one, non-separate. That abidance is called moksha, nishtha. And then, what is samsara? Bheda darshana. Naturally, this is the best definition of samsara. What is samsara? Seeing everything as different from everything else. And falling into the vat of difference and getting frightened. Yeah. That is samsara. Constantly falling down. Samsara, falling down into what? Into differences. This is samsara. Very simple, very easy, very wonderful. And then, what else? Samsara, Bheda Darshan. And what is that? Not only I am proclaiming this, not only is Vedanta proclaiming this, Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta. This is the vision Siddhanta. This is the ultimate answer of all texts that go by the name of Vedanta. It's the ultimate answer, the ultimate response, the ultimate vision of all texts that go under the name Vedanta. Abheda darshanam moksha samsara Veda darshanat Veda darshanaha, or you can even say Veda darshanat. Samsara is on because of seeing the Vedas. Yeah. This is very beautiful. So really speaking, there is the truth of I is non-separate from everything. And this we have seen how to, internalize this mantra. And this is usually best done in meditation. We can do that little bit now. We can do that. And because this is best illustrated through that only, we can spend some time being in this space. Sitting comfortably, eyes are softly closed, head, neck, and back are in a single straight line. I start with breathing. Pranapano samau kritva, gently ensuring that the exhale and the inhale both are of roughly the same length. Bringing the attention to the body, I visualize the body as though it is sitting in front of a full length mirror. Head, neck, shoulders, front of the torso, back of the torso, hands, legs. This is what the body is. I watch this body. The five elements constitute this body. My bones are non-separate from the earth. I see that. All the fluids in the body, non-separate from the water element, they flow just like the water flows. They are infallible, just like the water is. The law that guides them both is one and the same. Outside, surrounding me, is Vayu. When I take a full deep breath, the same Vayu is now my prana, non-separate. And that same prana morphs into a fivefold force, subtle force, that helps all kinds of various movements in the body, just like the vayu, the air helps to move things outside. Non-separate is the lungs from vayu. Non-separate is my prana from vayu. Namaste vayo, tvameva pratyaksham brahmasi. My salutations to you, O Vayu, who is in the form of Brahman. Salutation to Prana, who is nothing but Ishvara. Prano Vai, Ishvara. Fire in the form of hunger in the body, in the form of the temperature, the climate of the body. This fire is well known, which gives this body life, which gives it its ability to shine the sentience, be an expression of this sentience. Agni, inside, non-separate from Agni, outside. Space, I sense it without, I sense it within. That which is patient, which accommodates everything. There are spaces everywhere in this body, between the teeth, between the joints, the bones, between tissues, between organs. Inside the organs, I know space. Akasha Shariram Brahma. The truth of this body is that it is non-separate from the five elements. The truth of the five elements, non-separate from Ishvara, manifestation of Ishvara. The body is one with Ishvara. The body is an infallible expression of Ishvara's knowledge. Anything chronic, complaints, pains, etc., are all infallible expressions of the law of karma, which is again an infallible expression of Ishvara. Bhogayatanam, an abode to experience the karma. Every breath is sacred because it is Ishvara. Breather, Ishvara. Inhalation, Ishvara. Exhalation, Ishvara. Mind, also Ishvara. I shift the focus from watching the body to the mind. This is how the mind is. Thoughts that come, the truth of the thoughts, non-separate from Ishvara. Every thought is Ishvara in a dynamic form. The space between one thought and another thought, Ishvara in repose. I don't have to get rid of the thoughts to see this. The content of the thought, the invariable content, truth, Ishvara. That which helps the thought come into being, Ishvara. One who sustains the thought, Ishvara. One that resolves the thought into silence, also Ishvara. Om Namaha, the mantra of non-separation. Om is the whole. Om is Ishvara in repose, Ishvara in action. Om is the truth of I as Ishvara. Namaha, salutation, surrender. We will chant this softly, and each time the mind goes away, see it as Ishvara trying to go away from Ishvara, and then it will automatically come back. Distraction happens in between two mantras. And if I pay attention to the space between the first chant and the second chant, then the distractions tend to be less. Start the chant now mentally. Continuing the chant, allow the eyes to half open. And whatever falls into sight, see that as an extension. All that I see, Ishvara. Everything I see is a manifestation of Om. Om, truth of I, as Ishvara. Om is a syllable of non-separation. Allow gently, I allow the head to turn from side to side, slowly, and whatever I encounter in any direction, Om Namaha. Other bodies in the room, Om Namaha. Inanimate objects, furniture, etc. Om Namaha. Books, papers, pens, Om Namaha. Everything that is heard, traffic, the noise produced by the wind, Om Namaha. allowing the eyes to close again, and bring the attention gently inward. Om Namaha, Om Namaha, Om Namaha, Om Namaha, Om Namaha, Om, Om, Om. Allow the chant to drop. All there is the one who was chanting. The meaning of the word Om. And to whom the word Namaha is directed. एको देवः सर्वभूतेषु गूढः सर्वव्यापी सर्वभूतान्तरात्मा कर्माध्यक्षः साक्षी चेता केवलो निर्गुणश्च. One self-shining consciousness hidden in all beings, all pervasive, the truth of all beings, the infallible manifestation of the law of karma, the witness of everything, in whose presence all actions take place, all things come to light. The only presence that there is, which in essence is nameless and free of all forms. This presence is me. I am this presence alone. Let that sink in. This is myself. When I am with this presence, aware of this presence, I am being myself. All there is this presence, free, purna, limitless, and whole. I own up this presence today. I live the truth of this presence today. This is a comforting truth. Therefore, I am comforted by this truth. I don't need to seek any comforting today. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Next, this class will meet, I think, on the 10th of August, if I'm not wrong. 9th of August at 9:30 our time. Thank you. Yes.
Would you talk about the 3 types of Dharma?
3 types of karma.
Dharma?
Dharma.
Yeah.
3 types of dharma. One is that which is universally right and wrong, timelessly and universally right and wrong. Like not like untruth. What else? Homicide, defrauding someone. All these things are universal and timeless. That is the first kind of dharma called samanya. Vishesha dharma is not so much as right or wrong, it is appropriate or inappropriate in situations based on time and place, manners, and what is appropriate to do. And then swadharma, what is my lot to do depending on my age and my stage in life.